Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and today I'm joined by my co-host, Tanner Dykstra, who keeps children in his basement. And today we're here to talk about weapons.
No, 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 wait,
The
wait, wait,
latest
wait,
and
wait, wait.
greatest horror movie that everyone is raving about, and we are here
Yeah.
to talk about it, give you our thoughts. Tanner, here's the question.
Mm.
Here's the question. Are you preggers for Creggers? Let me know your thought on
Yes,
weapons.
Tucker, I am absolutely preggers for Creggers over here. Because Tucker, I have seen weapons not once, but twice this weekend, but leading up to this conversation, due to some extenuating factors like, I don't know, your birthday and then me losing power for about 12 hours.
Yeah.
We have not been able to record this review for a little bit. So
The great
I was
Nebraskan typhoon came through.
Exactly, swept through. But that means that I was able to rewatch Weapons because when I first saw it, I quite liked it. I had a really good time with it, but I perhaps had some reservations what it would be like on a rewatch, being because this is very much a puzzle movie. It
Yeah.
is
It's a mystery.
perhaps more than anything else, my biggest compliment for the film and its direction is how well the pieces of the all of these separate stories slide together, how perfectly calibrated Cregger is able to sort of dole out information in the script and keep you
Yeah.
interested in each of the character stories because that's how sort of the film is structured.
Hmm.
And rewatching it, I was like, nah, damn, dude, that's still really fun and awesome. Like that's kind of my general feeling on it. There's a lot I like about Weapons. What about you, Tucker?
Yeah, I really like it too. I think what's interesting about watching this after both of us actually quite enjoying Barbarian, which was Zach
Yeah.
Cregger's feature theatrical debut a couple years ago, is that he actually does have his own internally consistent style. With
Mm-hmm.
both of these movies almost being more about mystery than horror.
Yeah.
Both Weapons and Barbarian are very slow burn movies, where horror movies especially, where the first half, 2/3 of the movie is almost not a horror movie. It's more about the like mild tensions. Well, not mild in this case, but
Yeah.
tensions between people. Their fear of each other, but not necessarily in a horror way, of a miscommunication or misunderstanding way. And I found that really compelling because it means that unlike a lot of horror movies where it's like, all right, skip on the characters, skip on the world
Uh-huh.
building. Let's get to the slashes. Let's get to the kills. Zach Cregger's films have an air of primarily mystery, and of course, it devolves, quote unquote, into like some
Yeah.
really sicko shit by the end of the movie. But I really like that slow burn, getting introduced to the characters, having a lot of levity, having a lot of just straight up drama scenes, having
Mm-hmm.
some comedy moments, and then getting to the horror later down the line. And the mystery of weapons is really compelling because
It
it's
is.
sociologically interesting. The
Mm-hmm.
idea presented is that 17 kids have gone missing, and no one knows how or why or where they've gone. And the
Mm-hmm.
first two
The
thirds of
only
the movie,
con-
yeah,
the only connecting thing between them is that they are all from this
one
one
classroom.
woman's classroom.
Yes,
Yes.
and the first 2/3 of the movie are how does an entire town react to that? How do they
Yep.
treat each other because of that? How do the police go about discovering what happened, researching and going down the rabbit holes of what possibly could have happened? Who are the suspects? That sort of thing. Again, it's a mystery for the first 2/3 of the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
then some like more supernatural horror things start
Yes.
happening in that last
Things
act.
are unveiled,
Correct.
certainly.
Yes.
As I alluded to, because this is sort of an ensemble film in some
Yeah.
regard.
No, definitely.
It
There's
yeah,
not.
it,
I always think there's not a main character, and I will say I think that's something that I appreciate about the movie standing out from the crowd. But I do
mhm,
think that Julia Garner is interesting enough. I think she's the character I find the most interesting, and she's
mhm,
a good enough of an actress where I wish she was maybe more involved with the movie. There's like a
mhm.
solid middle chunk where you just don't see her for like 40 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, because we are exploring the lives of Josh Brolin or Alden Ehrenreich or
Yeah.
Austin Abrams, et cetera, or Benedict Wong.
Hmm.
Because that's how the film is chopped up,
Hmm.
basically. Kind of what I alluded to earlier is that every scene you'll get a different character's perspective on the events that you've seen unfold before, and then get just a little bit extra, like their piece of their understanding of the strangeness of what is going on in the
Yeah.
town of Maybrook. Um, so what do you want to dive into? You want to talk about Julia Garner? She is her segment is the opening of the film, so that gets
Yeah.
a lot of the groundwork laid
Well,
as you've been
not only
talking about.
that, but her storyline. She is the primary character of the movie because everything kind of reflects back onto her, at least for the majority of the movie. And
Yes.
also, she is very clearly who they were positioning as the protagonist or the main character in the marketing of the movie, to the
Mm.
point that I think that also maybe is why I think it feels a little bit weird that the movie ends up becoming this more ensemble, multiple perspectives, Yojimbo style story. Or
Mm-hmm.
no, Rashomon, right? That's the one. Yeah, Rashomon.
Rashomon is everyone's perspective. People have obviously been drawing connections to Magnolia with this film
Mm,
as well. Though the structure of Magnolia is different because it's not like a this person, this person, this person, this person
yeah.
ending. It's sort of a clock that keeps going round and round. It's like we return back to
Yeah.
Julianne Moore's story or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. But I think she's really, really interesting because she is one of the most believable just people as a horror protagonist that I've seen. She doesn't have she's shaken by all of this.
Oh yeah.
And she's very lonely as a person. It seems that that's kind of always been the case from what I was kind of able to gather about her character. She doesn't have a ton
Mhm.
of strong relationships with other people. Alden Ehrenreich's kind of the only person we gather that she has a history with.
Even
Um,
that relationship is certainly complicated
yeah,
and a little bit strained. As we they have this their conversation in the bar, which I think is great. Because it just gives you these little insights into who these characters once were. You know, they're still like youngish kind of people, so they
yeah,
probably like grew up in this town together and have known each other for years and years at this point. And you get that sense. You definitely get that sense from their conversation, and then everyone else, as she sort of posits, thinks she's a witch. They think that she has something to do with the fact that these children have disappeared.
hmm
And they do not believe her, though she is insistent that she had nothing to do with it. And in fact, she did not have anything to do with
yeah.
it. Spoilers, sorry. I maybe shouldn't have said that, but
So,
whatever.
whatever.
But you know, she has like it's unclear. Like there's a recurring thing of her like heavily drinking in the
Yeah.
film, and it's
hmm
unclear if that is like a coping mechanism for what has just recently transpired for about a month, or if that is something that she is dealing with. I mean, we have an Alden Ehrenreich is
Yeah.
dealing with alcoholism in this film as well.
From what I can recall, I think it is something that's been happening for a while because
Oh yeah,
Alden
because he has
Ehrenreich
that
talk.
line.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
like, "Are you going back to this? Like, oh, this is like a
yeah.
classic thing that you do." And it's
Hmm.
because this movie takes place, the events of it are over the course of like a month,
Yeah.
which is an interesting amount of time because it doesn't. Everything's still fresh enough to where the tensions are still super high, but people are trying their best to go back to some sense of
Hmm.
normalcy. Benedict Wong's character as the principal of the school is like, look, it's best. What we can do now is just best for the kid. Most of the kids is try to just give them a normal life. And the interesting thing about Justine, Julia Garner's character, is that she is trying to gather the pieces of a life and just try to be a part of society again, but it's
Hmm.
so difficult with all these tensions and the way that people treat her that whenever she can't win in any situation when she's
Yeah,
trying.
she can't go. Yeah, she can't go back to normalcy. Like Benedict Wong tells her, like, no, we're not going to let you like teach again. Obviously, like this is still a raw situation, even though everyone else is like trying to fall back into a rhythm to some degree. Josh Brolin, and we'll get to him in a little bit, is obviously like still obsessed with trying to solve this whole thing. But like, yeah, she is the one that is not allowed to, by other characters in the movie, just go back to being normal as
Mhm.
much as they are maybe some Benedict Wong especially is telling her like you should do that, even though he's not allowing her to
Yeah,
do that.
and that's because everyone projects their fears onto her
Yeah.
as we come to the end of the movie. And of course, I think this is pretty well established that she doesn't have anything to do with it. She's such
Yeah.
a believable character that I don't think there was any moment in my mind where I thought it was even really possible that she was
Yeah.
involved with it.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's not that big of a deal that you like spoiled that.
Yeah.
But
Obviously there is something deeper and scarier
yeah,
going on beyond this one lady.
yeah. But to the point I was making that she can't win is she can't act like nothing happened, because then I was like, oh well, then you definitely did it because you're trying to hide it, and you're like, oh, what are you doing, like trying to like reintegrate it into our society, like get out of here, like that makes us suspicious of you. But then she also can't be like scared and drinking and alone, because
she can't
then
be
it's
a
suspicious
recluse.
that she did it. And so I find
yeah.
that tension that's placed onto her of she has no idea how she should or even really can act. She has essentially no one to go to, and she can't be confident. She can't be reckless. Like it's a really unfortunate situation for a person to be put in, and that makes that first chunk of the movie with her, for me, the most emotionally compelling chunk of the movie, because I think she's the most interesting character and she's in the most interesting situation.
Yeah, and I mean this is all borne out again across Garner's performance, which I think is really excellent.
Yeah, it's
You
one of my favorites from her, I think.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. Because she even has these like small moments where she has this character tick that she's acquired where she'll like sort of bite her lower lip when she's nervous or really deep in thought or whatever. And then she's doing all the classic like sort of scream queenie kind of stuff of being harassed in her home by mysterious knocking or visions that she has. Is she
Yeah.
sleeping? Is she not sleeping? Is it a nightmare or not? Like she's also just great at that stuff.
But to
Much
that
better
point,
than she
though,
was in a previous horror film this year.
yeah, Wolfman. To that point, though, and to what I was mentioning earlier, the first half or 2/3 of this movie is not horror. I mean, obviously, there's these dream sequences which are pretty quick, but even to the Scream Queen sequences, it's when she's being chased around, someone's watching her from across the street.
Yeah.
This is horror stuff, but it's more presented as this tense drama with the conflict between her and her neighbors. And it's like, just like people are suspicious of her and they are treating her poorly. It's not like she's being like, well, she's almost killed once. But most of the time it's not like someone is actively trying to hurt her. She is just, it's like they don't like her.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that is the horror to her in that situation for sure.
Yeah.
Did you talk about Brolin?
Yeah. JB.
Okay. JB baby. So JB is rolling in. He is a great archetype that I really like that Brolin is really well able to embody in this film, which is like the very affluent older suburban dad who owns like he owns a construction company. He is well integrated with the community around him, and he is put in a situation where he is not in control. Sorry, he was
well integrated, because what's interesting about his character is because of what has happened and his son has gone missing, his son being a part of the classroom, the 17 kids that walked out into the night, is that it has completely shattered his life. He's not paying attention to work. He's not talking to his wife very much. He's sleeping in his son's bed, which is a really interesting character touch. And he's obsessed with it. As you mentioned, he's just being like a civilian sleuth. And a detective, and trying to piece together what he can know what happened, which is interesting because it painted for me this really interesting dynamic where we were watching that opening sequence, which is kind of a montage of the event happening. There's a narration from a child.
Narrated by a little girl. Yeah.
And so we're privy to all of that. We're privy to all of the different camera angles and the like the police searching for the children and all this stuff. And so my mind was set of like, all right, this is the stuff that everyone knows. But that's not exactly true. And this is what I find interesting about the detective element of this movie, is that the people that we're following actually don't know very much at all. The stuff that we learn about the cops going to Alex, that stuff that we know about there being all these kids leaving at the exact same time, run out in the exact same pose. The members of the community actually don't really know that happened. The closest they get is if their kid left, they know that stuff about their child. And so what's interesting about watching Archer, who's Josh Brolin character, is that, and I don't know exactly how I feel about this. I think this might feel a little bit repetitive to me, but he goes through, and a good chunk of his storyline is him learning the stuff that we already know about the situation. Because in my mind, when he's like piecing together, okay, they ran out in the same pose and they were like going in a straight line, I'm like, yeah, like Yeah, we saw it. Like that was in every trailer. Like that was the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, but that's also folded up into him being like, okay, where are they going? Because that is
True.
something that we don't know. That's him trying to figure that out.
That is true. But then
You know,
again, and maybe this
mhm.
is just me thinking in like a detective brain from the very start. Is like,
Uh-huh.
if I was part of the cops, I would have triangulated their directions like immediately. And so like having
Sure.
this be something that a month later no one has thought about except for him, and the
Hmm.
fact that he only triangulates two of them and goes off of that, I'm like that element of the mystery to me I think is kind of cool but feels a little bit simple for my taste. I'm like, come on, like nobody thought of this. Like where did they go, the directions, like if
Well,
they intersect.
well, Tucker, I think perhaps what you'll find is Cregger is not super complimentary of the police force and the
That's
police
fair enough.
work in this
Good point.
film. Because if we move into Ehrenreich, who is Paul,
Mm-hmm.
correct?
Mm-hmm.
Um, really like him. I, of course, am in Paul cosplay right now, as you can see.
Yeah.
Have been for the past 3 years, just in preparation for this film Weapons coming out. That yeah, Alden Ehrenreich I like a lot because you see him first in that Julia Garner sequence, and you're like, okay, this guy seems fairly normal. He's maybe a little direct with her when they're in their conversation in the bar or whatever, but he seems generally well adjusted and normal. But then you learn a little bit about his life, and that he is just actively cheating on his wife. Who who like on face value like gives him a call and is sort of like, hey, you should go to an AA meeting, tell my dad that we're gonna go to this anniversary dinner, and he's just kind of like, oh, my bitch wife or whatever. It's like, no, dude, like she's like caring about you and like wants and like loves you clearly and stuff like that. Um, but no, that he is. You learn a lot more about him in this sequence and like how he is not a good dude. He arrests a different character, Austin Abrams' character, and just completely decks him in the face when he gets poked by a needle in his
Yeah.
pocket,
Yeah.
which is a great sequence. And then his paranoia about like being infected with stuff or like if he's gonna be okay after getting like exposed to these like needle pokes or whatever. Alden Ehrenreich just plays that stuff really, really well.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, naturally you would be a little bit, you would be scared about this, but the level to which he is, that paranoia that he really ratchets up is playing into the general comedy that Cregger obviously
Yeah.
puts in Barbarian and in this one,
Yeah. That's
and
true.
there certainly is a good share of comedy in this film to go around.
Well, that's what's interesting about both of these movies, Barbarian and Weapons, is that their funniest segment is in the middle of the movie. Is
Yeah.
that this section with Paul and said Austin Abrams' character, who I don't remember his name.
Jake or something?
Sure, let's go with Jake.
Yeah.
Um, those are the two funniest segments of the movie. There's
James, by the way. I just remembered it's James.
well, it's
Sorry.
actually not too far off though.
Yeah, yeah,
But you got first two letters.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, those are the two funniest segments of the movie. They're back to back.
Yes.
They both have very little. Well, that's not true. They have relatively little horror. They're much more about these characters like just dealing with their struggles of their life, and actually, James is actually not as intertwined with the narrative
Yeah.
of the missing children. He stumbles into it, and that segment in the middle where it's just kind of like a bumbling dumb cop storyline I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
was
yeah.
very tonally interesting, and people were laughing their butt off at all these things
Hmm.
that Alden Ehrenreich was doing. And then the James sequence as well. A good chunk of his storyline is just him like walking around in the streets and like scratching his neck a bunch because he's having withdrawals. Um,
Yeah.
and just being a funny character.
Dude,
Even
Austin
like the
Abrams
horror,
is.
even the
Yeah,
horror
yeah.
segment when he like is like running away from Paul and then sees Gladys out in the distance, like that is a
Mhm.
funny moment.
Yes, absolutely it is. I mean, and we should also talk about if we're gonna move off of Ehrenreich and into Austin Abrams, who I think is kind of quietly an MVP of this movie,
Hmm.
if not the MVP, just because like he nails every single
Oh
goddamn
yeah,
moment that he is given.
his line
Uh,
delivery is great.
um, he is the one that like gets into the house, and spoilers for the movie Weapons if you haven't clicked off at this point for us talking about it, sees the kids in
Yeah,
the basement.
it's a
He's
really
the
good
one that
moment.
effectively for the audience solves the mystery of the movie.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even know that he solves it until he sees that there's a $50,000 reward for the kids on the wall of the pawn
Yeah.
shop, which is another great moment of Cregger direction, just like really zoomed in on that poster, like going down the rows and rows of children, and then snapping back up to the $50,000 thing. And he's like, oh, and he runs right out. Like Austin Abrams is just so fucking good at
Yeah.
all of that shit,
Because
man.
he has this, like, defocused, like, dreamy look in his eyes where he's like, I mean, clearly his brain is addled in some way.
Yeah, well, listen, he's a drug addict.
He's a drug
Yeah.
addict. But it gives his performance this, like, doofy edge.
He's
that I think
spacey for sure.
yeah, that's the word. That does lead to lots of moments of funniness because he also then tries his best to reveal that what he's learned to people, but like
Yeah.
the honest to God truth is like, who's gonna believe him? Why would they believe
Well,
him? The way he's delivering it
also
is super suspicious because he's like
I also
in for the
he's
money.
also he's so obsessed with the monetary reward that I sort of push back on like he's doing his best or whatever. Is like, no, this guy wants $50,000. Is what this guy wants. If there was not $50,000 involved, he might not say anything about the kids in the basement.
Might not have even really realized because he is also like he's having withdrawals and like he's totally out of his drugs, and so I think that he's also like slapping himself being like, oh, was that real, like what's going on. If he hadn't seen the $50,000 reward, he probably would have just thought he was tripping. And
yeah,
so
I mean, honestly,
that's what's interesting about that.
We should also talk about that sequence in the house because that's where you see Alka's parents for the first time. Well, I guess technically you see them through the window earlier in the film. But like that whole gag is super good. I mean, every time Austin Abrams, you take a shot when he says "what the fuck" in this movie, and you'll be dead in about 20 minutes. But he nails that delivery every single time, even though it's just something that he says over and over and over again. And of course, talking for the Ron Howard head among us, there's a little Willow joke.
Yeah.
Oh fuck yeah, Willow! Great stuff. Great stuff.
Again, this section is a comedy. Even this horror section, which he's in a dark house with a newspaper on the windows,
creeping around,
and scary figures and scary noises and all of this stuff. It's presented comedically. He's doing pratfalls and he's falling over things and like.
It's very much the Justin Long sequence in Barbarian, where the comedy for the audience comes from, dude, you are in a horror movie and you don't realize it. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
With the sequence that everyone loves and remembers from Barbarian, where he finds the creepy torture basement and he's like, get the tape measure out. I can list this on Zillow, you know?
Oh, God, that's such a good sequence. Fuck, dude.
And it's the exact same thing here, where he's creeping around a disheveled house with two still figures sitting on the couch who are unfazed by his presence. And he's like, I guess I'll take this silverware and stuff while I'm here, and their DVDs and stuff. Like, that is something that Cregger has done in both of his big feature horror films now, that he's so good at doing.
Yeah. So we talked about the drama segment.
Yeah.
We talked about the comedy segment. And now we can transition into the horror segment of the movie, which is that last act, which is starts with Benedict Wong's character and then also Alex. And this is where the movie then takes a turn, as I'm saying, into the more supernatural stuff where we learn what the I don't know what the weapons process is. I don't. What the fuck are we gonna call it? The weaponizing.
Hey, listen, the weaponizing of people in this film, and listen, it's a witch. That's what it is. It's a witch doing magic spells and rituals and things of that nature.
True. Yeah, and what we come to learn is that there's this character Gladys who is Alex's great aunt. And she looks funny. She's got a bright red wig and wears insane makeup and super gaudy clothing, and has just like no sense of like social presence at all. And she goes through this process, and I'm curious what you think of the supernatural elements of this movie, where she has a thorny tree of some sort that she plucks a branch off of, takes an object related to someone's life, entwines it with the branch, pokes her own blood on it, rubs her own blood on it, snaps it, and then by snapping it, it creates some link where then the person whose object it was is then
Yes.
weaponized. And then the ending step is that she drops the two parts of the branch in the water and it stops it. This
Yeah,
is a
that basically
bizarre
deactivates them.
process.
Yes.
It deactivates them, but still leaves them possessed
Like
in some
open
way.
to suggestion, possessed, mind
Yeah,
controlled, whatever.
it's
I was
ostensibly
also
deactivated.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
yeah.
just
I mean,
yeah, they're just kind of
the thing that I kept thinking of, with all this stuff and like connecting it to like folklore and stuff is that it's like a golem almost.
sure.
Even though a golem is something that you create
Yeah.
from like inanimate objects, but it's that same sort of process where like you can give them they are not like conscious anymore. They can speak a little bit, but often
When do they
because
speak?
you see Alex's parents speak when he comes home for the first time.
Oh,
Because
yeah, because it's also it's a weaponizing thing, but it's also a mind control thing because
yeah,
Gladys
yeah.
can make them do other things that aren't aggressive, like open the
Right.
door or
Hmm.
like stand somewhere else, like just
There's a
walk around.
there's a lot. I love the shot of Alden Ehrenreich towards the end of the movie, just stepping out and going,
Yeah, yeah, and that's the interesting thing about the fleeting moments of horror imagery in the first two thirds of the
hmm
movie. There are these dream sequences that I'm curious to talk about a little bit, but then there's
sure.
also the Alex family house. I don't know what their last name is, but
The
where
lilies.
you're right, Alex Lilly. The Lilly family house that is just when they open this door, just the blackest fucking void that is
Yes.
ever possible. I love
It's
that
so good.
imagery
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
there's no light coming out. It just swallows people up.
And the door just hangs open for like 10, 15
Yeah,
seconds,
before anything happens.
building the anticipation of like, what the fuck is gonna come out of this door right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. Let's talk about the dream sequences because I think that they are good they are good stuff. I mentioned the Garner one where she sees. I like the moment, and I liked it even more on a rewatch. You realize the construction of it more. Is that she sees something at the end of the hallway. First time viewing, you're like, what is she looking at right now? Because it's just a dark hallway with some like vague shapes of like her living room or whatever. But then she moves, and the you see something else like a little white orb or like clearly a face like move behind a wall as well at the same time as the camera moves. So well executed, and then the classic like fake out gag of like, huh, guess it was nothing. Oh, giant scary thing on the ceiling.
Yeah. Giant scary
Um,
Gladys on the ceiling?
Gladys. It's Gladys. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's always Gladys, basically, in all of these sequences. And then there's the Brolin one. The
Yeah.
Brolin one is a lot more interesting to talk about, I think. It is a lot more involved. It is him, like, seeing Michael run out of the house, chase him through
Matthew.
the woods, and... What?
Matthew.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Matthew. And he comes out of the
Loud,
woods,
wrong, incorrect buzzer.
and he's looking at his home again, that Matthew has gone back into. And then he looks up, and there's a giant floating shadowy image of an assault rifle in the sky. And then the time 217 appears in the sky as well.
Yeah, on the ammo cap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, this is something that has caused a bit of a tizzy online because everyone in the lead up to this movie, of course, it wasn't exactly hard to put together that there is allegory for school shootings going on in this film.
True.
It's a
Yeah.
classroom, bunch of kids
That's a good point.
disappear. The title of the film is Weapons. Like it is some sort of horror allegory for that, horrible thing that happens in this country and has happened for the past 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And then he looked up in the sky, and the first time I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, we're just like super leading into this. Like Cregger is just fully engaged with this. But then in subsequent interviews that have been published over the weekend, he's like, yeah, I just had that image in my head. I'm not really sure what it means, and I'm happy for other people to like sort of give feel their interpretation out on it. To which I say, I don't know, man. Maybe I just have a narrow state of mind about this, but I'm like, there's only one thing that could really mean for me. Why else? Well, Brolin doesn't really have like, he doesn't have like guns in the house. There are really no other guns in the movie.
No.
I mean, like, there's one in the final sequence or whatever,
Yeah.
but that's like a handgun.
Yeah, because Paul has one because he's a cop.
Yeah, he's a cop. But I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, What else could it mean?
I
What did you
agree.
make of this sequence, Tucker?
Well,
Yeah.
now that you mentioned the school shooting stuff,
Hmm.
a I think that is a good and interesting intention for this movie for something to cover. And
Yeah.
I think you're right that the empty classroom, the school element, the missing children, the tension and terror in a community, how they
Hmm.
deal with this grief and
Yep.
anxiety,
Yep.
all those things point to that. But the last chunk of the movie is not concerned with that at all, and so that's why I'm like,
Hmm.
cool, good intention, yes, in part, but ultimately kind of no, because it's witch stuff by the end of the movie,
Uh
and
huh.
so it's like, what does it have to? It doesn't have anything to say about this stuff other than the interpersonal tension and fear in
Hmm.
a community. Yes, okay, cool. But there's no, it's not tied in to the supernatural stuff by the end of the film, which is why I'm like, that's
Yeah.
cool, but very weak, to be honest.
Yeah. This is my
Which
thing
is
where
to the point of that
mhm,
assault rifle thing. Cool
mhm.
imagery. I like that it's sort of like cloudy and there's like a thunderbolt behind it,
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's a cool image. But I heard this in the theater. I was like, what the fuck? Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
why? And then also it's just like, uh, why is Brolin's thinking about the guns because he's associating it with school shooting, but like it's a cool image, but it
Mhm.
doesn't seem to tie back into the film.
So here's my thing, and I'll talk. We can talk theme here, and then we can talk like the actual final set
Yeah.
piece, basically, and then we'll wrap up. Because I think generally that obviously that image is quite striking and has caused a lot of people to like tap in and sort of express their thoughts, which seemingly was Cregger's sort of intention with putting that in there. As he mentioned a number of times, he's like, yeah, I don't really know what that means. It was just an image that I had in my head that I decided to put in the movie. Um, I think generally it feeds into a larger theme that Brolin basically just verbalizes
Yeah.
that these children are being weaponized, and what does that mean for the modern world, taking allegories out
Yep.
of it? That children in many socio-political issues that we're dealing with and have been dealing with for decades at this
Yeah.
point are perhaps not looked at as like human beings, but a chess piece that can be employed
Yeah.
by certain sides on
Yeah.
certain
Well,
issues
for
to
propagandistic
yeah,
intent of
exactly.
like the children are being targeted, and
Hmm.
what does that mean from whatever political stance you are using that for? Is that
Hmm.
you are using children as a concept, as a group, to
Hmm.
achieve your goals. You're weaponizing them in that way.
Yes, and I guess that on a certain level that feeds directly into what we understand Gladys to be doing with these children is that she basically keeps them all down in the basement, and it appears to be like feeding off of their life force, essentially. We're told
Yeah.
that she is like sick, and her appearance really fluctuates over the course of the film. Obviously she's has a lot of makeup on at certain points, but when she's not wearing that, she can look much older and more sickly, or like more younger, more like the actress Amy Madigan, for example. And when you see her at the very end, she has like a lot more hair than you see her have. Like she
Oh.
grows hair over
Hmm.
the course
I
of the
guess I didn't
film.
notice that.
Yeah, because
Interesting.
when Alex like sees her in bed when she first arrives, when we get that long flashback, she's basically like completely bald, and then we see her at a certain moment with like really stringy
Yeah.
braids in
Yeah. Oh,
her
that's
hair.
true. Yeah.
And then at the very end, she kind of has something resembling a more full head of hair.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. I actually didn't notice that
sure.
costuming slash makeup
Hmm.
thing, and so that does supernaturally in some way explain
Hmm.
her intention. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that's clear enough. Like she doesn't
Fair
become
enough.
like actually youthful. It seems to just
Hmm.
be her hair if you were right about that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is why I think that the imagery of the process of her doing this is interesting. I think that uh, the imagery of the people just standing around and
Hmm.
being possessed ostensibly is interesting, but I don't. I think I see Gladys, and this is a comparison many people have made, but I see
Hmm.
Gladys as very comparable to Longlegs, Nicolas Cage's
Oh,
character from
sure.
last year, in that they are visually interesting horror movie antagonists. They have this wacky, over the top personality and visual style, and interesting intent and movement and things, but their goals are so nebulous that I don't feel a lot is actually explored, at least again on my first watch, and this movie's only been out for a few days, through what they are doing. I think the way it impacts other people is interesting, both in long legs and in weapons, but I don't really understand Gladys as an antagonistic character. She is wacky, she's here, and she takes over the house and puts the parents under the spell, but she keeps Alex unweaponized. I can't really tell exactly what it is. Maybe just like do her bidding or whatever. And then she gets all these children and just keeps them there. Like that's the thing that really is like confusing for me. Like if she has something that, like she's feeding off their life force, she just needs to keep them around. Like how many people is she going to do this to? She doesn't really actually seem to do it intentionally. After the children, she possesses the 17 children. They walk out into the night, and then the only other people she possesses afterward are ones that stumble into the house and upon her.
Yes, that she needs to
except for
like
Benedict
get rid
Wong.
of on. Yeah, she needs to like get rid of. She has a more specific purpose for them.
But that is why I'm a little bit confused on what her intent is, because if it's that she needs to have X amount of people, let's say it's 30 people, in order to keep them around, use them as batteries, drain their life force, and become more youthful. Number one, I don't think the youth thing is particularly obvious through the visual of the film. And then also, she doesn't get more people like intentionally. She's like she's gone a month without like abducting anyone else. So I think Gladys is. I think Amy Madigan does a great performance. I think the visuals are interesting. The supernatural process with the branch and everything is cool, but the intent, I think, is nebulous at best, and that leaves this end segment learning about her a little bit unfulfilling for me.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I could just buy into like, you know, a more generalized witchy thing of like, you know, stealing youth from the children, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Like that is a tried and true sort of witch motivation in stories, and has been for millennia. I mean, at this point.
And maybe this is Tucker Lorehead Hazel, where I'm like, well, how did she get into this? What was she treated like before that made her want to do this? Because I think, again, a comparison to Barbarian is the old man villain in the bed breeding with these women and stuff, and like creating this underground society. Like there's a lot more interesting, malicious, sociological intent there than this, which just seems to be vaguely paranormal.
Yeah, sure. And I think a little bit more maybe. Not that Barbarian that stuff wasn't thematically engaging in Barbarian, but like perhaps more leaning more into the thematic engagement than like, you know, putting it in the script. Cregger is doing, you know, this time around. But then Tucker, as we wrap up, we get this final sequence, which is brilliant. It is the coalescing of all of the different moods and aesthetics, and of course characters that we've gotten up till this point. So many good gags here, some good jump scares as well, very well directed, of course. This final set piece of everyone running around, screaming, smashing through doors in the house. Love all that stuff. The the gag of Josh Brolin just continually knocking out Austin Abram and then him getting back up because he's possessed is so good. And it like hits every single time that
those stunts are awesome.
Yeah, they are. I mean, he's chucking him over the couch and like onto tables and stuff like that. And then you get like the stuff of Alden Ehrenreich like choking out Julia Garner and her having to like steal the gun out of his holster and take him out that way. And then Alex is upstairs with his parents who are trying to kill him because, you know, he stepped over the salt line or whatever, which is another spell that that Gladys casts here.
Shout out. Bring her back. Do the same thing.
True. Shout out to general, occult mythology, I suppose, being employed in films. But then, Alex, smart little boy that he is, I should also mention, great performance from this kid.
Phenomenal, excellent.
He is incredible. Stuff. Yeah.
There are no weak performances in this movie. That's why
I would agree.
I do appreciate it as an ensemble, is that Everyone gets very balanced screen time. Again, I think I would have personally wanted a little more Julia Garner as a center of the film, but everyone does a great job. And you're right, especially the kid that plays Alex Lilly. He's really really good.
And so then he's like, he's gonna do the ritual himself. He has a great plan. Okay, he takes a hair out of Gladys's wig. He wraps it around the thing. He snaps it, and then Tucker, what happens? All 17 children down in the basement are now, like, as Josh Brolin says, heat-seeking missiles, seeking only to kill Gladys.
Yeah.
And it is awesome.
It's
like
awesome. Yeah, no, it's great.
it is so fun. I was listening to an interview with Cregger where he's like, initially the idea was to just have them run upstairs and tear her apart right there in the house. But then on the day they were going to shoot that, he was like, guys, I'm sorry, but I have this idea in my head, and he's like, all the crew leads, everyone hated me because he's like, yeah, what if we just staged like multiple sets, a
Totally.
long sequence of her getting chased through numerous houses. We got to do breakaway glass,
That
the
honestly,
kid actors
honest
and
to God,
everything.
probably added like 2 or 3 weeks to the production.
Absolutely
of the
it did. Yeah, absolutely it did. Everybody's like, but god damn did it pay off, because this sequence is so fun of like the children running through the houses and like random people seeing this happen, being interrupted, the living rooms being invaded by an army of children smashing through plate glass windows and things like that. It's so fun. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
The camera work is great here too. Like when there's that one girl that is like finally catches her and it's like mounted like right behind her effectively as she's going through the house. That sequence is all great. And then they tear her limb from limb. They rip her head in half and stuff.
They chow down.
They chow down on her earlobes and gouge her eyes out, and a whole bloody fleshy mess that God bless the woman next to me sitting in the theater last night, Tucker. She had her eyes covering her sequence for that whole thing. I was like, yeah, I mean that's that's understandable. She was also very affected by a number of the jump scares. The two that really got her in this movie were the when Josh Brolin is talking to his son in the dream sequence, and then it quickly flashes over to Gladys with like the flashlight on her face. Like that one really got her. Like screamed out loud got her. And then again, Josh Brolin and Gladys in the basement.
Oh, dude!
When she's he's doing the Mr. Beast.
That's a great moment. Yeah. No, I think it's a great ending. I think it's iconic, which I think is really cool. Like I've never seen a horror movie end like this before, and I like that it is also. It's ostensibly a comedy sequence. Like the jump scare part of the horror and the darkness part of the horror that has been pretty present in the, let's just say, 15 minutes leading up to that is gone, and they're just out in the streets barreling through things, going through people's houses. It's great. It's great imagery. It's well directed. It's a fascinating and very distinct sequence, and a great way to end this movie. And again, merge all its tones together, as you're mentioning. And then the movie just kind of ends after that. I think that I would have hoped for, in terms of what I think a movie is most interesting with, which is its sociological tensions between the characters and how this has affected them. I think I would have wanted a little bit more than the quick wrap-up narration where it's like, okay, Alex's parents are gone, Alex is living with his grandpa, his like aunt or whatever, and that, I mean, that's really it.
It is really an interesting, like, super bittersweet, like bittersweet and note to end on that. Like, yeah, these parents got their kids back, but they're effectively in like a vegetative state now. Like the final line of the movie is that some of them have started talking this year.
Yeah.
Like that is the catharsis for all of these parents, is that they get their kids back, but like these kids are forever changed. They're like Alex's parents are forever changed too. Like they're in a home somewhere being fed soup by someone else, as the narration says.
What's interesting about again, the rules of this are interesting. That Josh Brolin was under this weaponizing spell for a little bit,
like a couple minutes.
Yeah, and he's fine. There's this moment where I can't remember how, but his spell stops and he just stops. Like,
it's when
leaves.
All the spells break when Gladys dies.
Oh, that you're right. That, of course, that's why. It's sort of a two feeling ending to me. I like the action sequence, and then I'm Not particularly jazzed about the just narration to kind of wrap it up.
Mm,
Feels a little bit quick for me. But it's a great movie. Lots
yeah.
of cool imagery, lots of interesting themes that I think aren't necessarily tied up in interesting ways, but are certainly
Mm,
posited. A whole slew of great performances. It's just really well done all around.
yeah.
And it seems like
Absolutely, it
people are
is.
just fucking loving this thing,
People are
man.
digging this thing, and I mean, we're crossing the streams a little bit of different shows on this channel, but
Oh,
I am so kicking myself for not just putting it number one
yeah.
because I was
You
really
broke your 3 month
considering
streak,
it.
buddy.
It did. I'm so fucking pissed because I was
Yeah.
like, it'll probably be close, but Freakier Friday, I think Freakier Friday will get. And then this is looking to just absolutely blow Freakier Friday out of the water with like a 45 to 50 million dollar opening weekend,
Yeah.
which is insane. Yeah, but because people, the word of mouth is just really like
Yeah.
snowballing on this thing. It's
Yeah.
really really exciting a lot of people.
Totally. Well, Tanner, what are you going to give Weapons on
Eight,
a 100 point scale?
eight and a half, 100 point scale.
Isn't that true? Yeah, because like
I
eight point
got
five is technically an 85, right?
okay. Well then I give it an 85 out of 100, an 8.5 out of
Yeah.
10.
Because if it was a 10 point scale, it'd just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Decibels and things like decimals, not
yeah.
decibels.
I'll give it an 8.2 out of 10. I think it's a great movie.
Nice.
I think thematically, there are some elements that don't quite hit for me, and
Hmm.
I also feel like something I didn't drill in on, but just a quick point is that
There you go.
I feel like the movie retreads a lot of ground, having to shift between these perspectives and go over some of the points again. And I
Hmm.
like the fact that you're able to see from the different angles. Like, oh, there's the moment when Justine and Paul kind of saw each other from the
Yeah.
outside, but like, really learn anything more. But like, it's just like, oh, that happened.
Yeah.
It's hit or miss in terms of if adding a new perspective to it actually reveals anything new to the audience, which is why I'm like, I like the structure. I think it's cool, but like, it's not perfectly satisfying to me, I think.
Yeah. I think those moments are quick enough for me, and again, play just fine on a rewatch. But I was really concerned like about that kind of stuff, how it would play. But like even that moment, like you're able to actually see Alden Ehrenreich's face in his reaction
Yeah.
to Julia Garner waving at him, which I think is a little bit worthwhile for as quick as that moment is
Yeah.
ultimately. So good
But,
stuff all around. Go see Weapons. You probably have seen it already at this point.
and we'll see you next time.